Welcome everyone to the Classy Career Girl podcast. Today we are doing something a little bit different. Today we have a special guest. It's a podcast listener just like you who is going to ask me a bunch of her burning questions that I don't even know yet. So let's give a big welcome to Megan Meyer, who is interviewing me today. Welcome, Megan.
Thank you, Anna.
Excited for this. Megan is the winner of a little contest we had on the podcast a few months ago for people who left reviews on iTunes, or I think it was iTunes where you were listening to. So thank you everyone who entered and left a review of our podcast on iTunes or wherever you listen from. We're kind of all over the place. So I really do appreciate it. I read everyone. So thank you all for entering the contest, and big welcome to Megan. Yay, I'm excited for this.
Thank you. I'm excited as well.
So Megan, tell me and everyone that's listening a little bit about you and some background of your current career situation so that I can help you as much as possible during our time together, and just for the listeners to be able to kind of understand, relate to, see where you're coming from as well.
Okay, sounds good. So I have been in communication and training for a government organization as well as in a couple of corporations for the last 15 years or so. And I most recently just completed my coaching certificate. So I'm working on starting up a life and leadership coaching business under my name, and just really excited to learn more about, what your experience has been kind of leaving the day job and moving into something that is your own, which is so exciting for me, but also a little scary. I've always known that I kind of wanted to start a business, but it took me a while to get to coaching. And now that I've found it, I know that that's what I want to do. So just looking forward to building my business going forward.
Awesome. Well, congrats on getting your certification. That's huge.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah, just finished it up last month, so still really excited about that, and it feels good to put a bow on it as well.
Nice. Okay, so you're heading off into the entrepreneur world, and you mentioned something where you might be going full time here soon, right?
So yeah, it just we'll see what happens, but I am currently working for a corporation, but there's changes afoot, and so we'll see what comes of that. But I would like to eventually kind of move into this as more of a full-time opportunity, especially because I have two small kids, 3 and 1, and so my goal would be to kind of be out on my own with the business at least by the time my daughter starts kindergarten, so that I have a little bit more flexibility and can be with her during the times that she's awake and available, as well as with my son too.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, mine's almost 3 in June too, so we have that.
Oh yeah.
Dang. I just have one.
It's fun. It's definitely busy. And as you know, it's hard because I feel like as a mom, you want to give 100% to your family, but you also want to give 100% to your job. And so I guess for me, just to think of small things like being able to cut out a long commute and things like that would really be beneficial for our family, because I could be a little bit more flexible because my husband works full time as well.
Awesome. Well, let's make it happen. How can I help you? What are all the questions that you want to ask?
Yeah. So, I mean, first and foremost, when thinking about kind of balancing a family, I guess my first question for you is, what are your biggest keys for work-life balance?
Okay. So, well, first of all, I don't have it all figured out. So no one should actually look at me and think, oh gosh, she's totally balanced and has everything all figured out, because one of the books actually I highly recommend is called The One Thing. And what I realized in that book, and it kind of released a lot of pressure from me, was that you're never going to be completely balanced. You're going to be prioritizing things over other things at different times of your life. And what I love, the Strengths Finder as well. It's a personality assessment that one of my mastermind partners did for me. And in that mastermind group, in the personality assessment, I learned that one of my biggest strengths is focus. And it relates to work-life balance, because I realized I get really focused on like one thing, and I can't think of other things. And so it kind of goes back to the balance thing, because I've realized it's really hard for me to be balancing everything. I have to kind of prioritize things. And so, great example, like when things are really busy for work and I'm launching something and doing something, or coming out with something new, I am like focused everything on that, and my house is a disaster. Like, my closet is a disaster. You guys might think everything is perfect, the pictures, but it's just crazy. So I think that the one thing, figuring out that balance is kind of hard to do. It's very hard to do, and you really have to prioritize one thing over another. So, for me, starting the business, that's something that, you don't want to like prioritize business over motherhood, and that's something that um, is hard to do. When I first started, when I was on maternity leave, and I quit my day job when I left maternity leave, so I didn't go back. So I was doing kind of the same thing. I was balancing a newborn, and I was balancing this new business, and I was trying to do it all. And I think for me, what I realized is I really had to delegate a lot of that stuff too. So I think that's a big key for you when you start. Something that I learned is that even though I wanted to give everything to my new daughter, and even though like I hardly had childcare, I thought I could do it all. I thought I could grow this business all by myself as well. And I didn't have a team back then. Like, I didn't have anyone helping me. And so I think that's really key before you make that leap, is to set up, your childcare help, and figuring out like when you're going to be working, when you're going to be with your kids, like, because you want to be present with your kids when you are there. Lately, I've realized, getting help with, figuring out all the like things to get your groceries delivered, just like little things are out there. Amazon Prime, love that one, or getting the groceries delivered, figuring out when busy times come, getting those meals delivered too. So it's always a learning process to really figure that out. But I think the key is prioritizing. So figuring out what you can't do everything. So figuring out what your priorities are when you start to make that leap and you make that change in your life, because you're probably going to think, oh, I have so much more time now. I can spend it all, with my kids. I can even, clean the house, and I can do all the groceries, and I can do all, and you add more stuff because you quit your day job, right? So
Yeah.
I feel like you have so much more time. And then I was like meeting up with all my friends like every day of the week, because they were stay-at-home moms, so they didn't have jobs. So I thought, hey, I can go hang out with them in the middle of the afternoon. And so it just caused a lot of stress because I didn't put those like boundaries on my time. So I think if I could go back and do it again, I'd probably pretend I wasn't Superwoman and try and get more help like right in that beginning time frame. So it didn't come to a point where I just like fell apart, right? Like, I went a little crazy because I didn't have that help. So if I would have had it beforehand and just created that time and space for myself, I think that would have been helpful.
Okay. Well, that really helps to know. And I think in a way it's kind of refreshing to hear that there was a point where things were too much for you and you still made it through and you're here today, and, very well known. And it's very much an honor for me to be able to meet you today. So, but I really appreciate that. So I guess with that in mind, I guess the next thing that has been on the back of my mind is leaving that consistent paycheck. And so, how did you make the decision that it was the right time to be able to do that?
Yeah, so it is a big decision. I'm not one of those who believes in just leaping without that safety net. My husband and I paid off a lot of money in debt before I made the leap, and we did a lot of careful planning and thinking. I was actually planning to leave, let's see, 9 months earlier, but I ended up getting pregnant. So there was a lot of things that factored into that, where I was like, okay, if I can just hold out a little bit longer, then I can get the maternity leave and benefits and all that stuff too. So, but for us, it was just really going through that budget and being very clear on like what we could cut out of our budget, decreasing our expenses as much as possible. We still do that today. Like, we're just very careful on how we spend the money, and we try and invest as much as we can back into the business.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when you're thinking of leaving too, I am a huge fan, because I did it, is building up the clients before you take the leap too, and building up your brand before you take the leap, and, building up, a lot of the stuff you've done, you've gotten the training, you've gotten the certification, like you're very much ready. But I always liked having that safety net of having that clients and having, when I left, I had clients and I had a course that I knew people would buy because I had been running it for a few times. I had a 90-day program that I launched right after I quit my job. So that I had launched it prior to that as well. So I knew it worked because I had tested my idea, and I knew it was profitable, and I had the shopping cart, and I had individual coaching clients. And so there's a lot of stuff that made that leap a little easier, especially I had to talk to my husband about it. Today my husband works with me, but at that time that was not in the plan. We did not plan to run a business together. And so I had to convince him, I had to show him those numbers. I had to show him the data. He had to see like my revenue coming in and the expenses. And I did everything I possibly could with that day job, like everything. And that's what I really recommend is like, I know it's tough. I know it's hard. I know you have to work a lot of early mornings. I know you have to stay up late a lot of nights, but if you can say that you've done everything you possibly can with that day job, then I think it's okay, because freeing up your time, you're going to grow, you're going to make more income, but you don't want to be, you want to be confident in that so that you can get the job and know that you are going to have that paycheck coming in from your business as well. So there's a lot in there, but that was something for me. I mean, I side hustled for many, many, many years. And a lot of those years I wasn't making an income as well. And I was investing everything that I made back into the business, getting a lot of training, doing what you're doing, just learning as much as I can. That's all going to benefit you. But yeah, so if I were you, I don't know if you've had any clients yet, but that's probably something I would dive into, is start to build up your social proof and your testimonials. Maybe we're doing some, free work with people or discounted work with people to start. I'm sure since you've gotten certified, you've done some like coaching. You have to get that right to get certified.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that really helps. I do have a handful of external clients and also some people that I'm coaching at my company. So it's been really great because I've coached about 20 people already. And so it's been really great experience. And I feel pretty confident that, getting out, I know that I can continue to bring in clients. And I think that the service I'm providing is valuable, obviously.
Did you get testimonials and did you get them to do testimonials for you?
I actually just asked someone for one today. I'm reworking my website right now, and so she offered to do that for me, so it's great. Awesome. So I'm just, definitely starting to build that up, so I appreciate that.
That was huge. I mean, I worked with so many people to, one, develop like my systems and get things down too, because it takes a while to feel confident and comfortable. And then you have it, and then you start hearing that it's working from other people too. And it just kind of grows your confidence as you go too. Like, I got this, I can do this. So I'm a huge fan of, it all comes down to providing value and helping people and solving people's problems. So just the more you can solve people's problems, the more you can help people, it's going to blow up, right? Like if you just keep focusing on providing value and helping people.
Thank you. Great. Well, my next question is, how has your life changed since going out on your own?
Wow. Well, it's actually interesting. You're asking that today because I know you're a mom. So this will be a very good example. So my daughter is almost 3. She's in preschool part-time. And today is the first day we're taking her out of preschool for the month of May. So we can have more family time. We've been like working super hard. I say that as just like an example of like something my husband and I talked about, like, hey, we're really not getting like the family time that we want. Like we're in this routine of like, we drop her off, we pick her up, we go, we take a nap, and then all of a sudden it's dinner time, and then all of a sudden we go to bed again, and we're working a lot. And so for me, there's what's changed is that freedom and that ability to kind of make those decisions. She's only 3, so we can pull her out of school right now, but just to kind of do what we want and make those decisions, pull her out, have the family time. It's a little bit of a juggle. It's a little crazy over here for this month of May. We can do another call at the end of this month, and you can ask how it went.
Sounds good.
So we did it for the first 18 months. For her first 18 months, we didn't have childcare, and so my husband quit his job a few months after I quit my job, because that's when I had like that breaking point, and I, went to my husband and I said, I'm going crazy here. Like, something's got to give. I was literally considering quitting the business. I can't quit being a mom. Like, that's my life. That's my priority. And we decided, like, after a conversation, that he was going to quit his job, so that he could help with the business, spend more time with my daughter. He wasn't super happy with his job as well. So that was a huge change. Like, that's not something we really had planned on, but of course that was like the dream. So that's been a big change, working together. Those first 18 months were a little crazy. It's not something that blew up overnight. I mean, we both let go of our consistent, secure paychecks. So there was a lot of stress. There's a lot of working really hard. But I think that that's the biggest thing, and that has changed, is the freedom to live how we want. We ended up going on like a 6-month road trip after my daughter turned about 1. And we drove around and stayed with family, and had an experience that we never would have been able to have if we were both working those day jobs. And then coming up here, we're going to be going to New Zealand for a month with my parents too. So I think the biggest thing for us is just how it's changed really is to have the schedule that works the best for us. Every day is different. It's a little stressful at times, and it's a little scary. There's been times where we literally don't know if we're going to make it, right? Like, there's definitely those times, just like you're having when you're questioning new things, and we've changed our business model around. So, changing a business model, that can like be very scary as well, when you have something that's working really well and then you change things up. All stuff that we've done, it's all part of being an entrepreneur, is making that leap and doing things you're scared about and you're feeling uncomfortable about. So I hope that's inspiring you too, as you're like going on this, like, you're getting excited because you're about to take off on this new adventure too. And so you just never know what's possible until you actually do it. And it's totally worth it. It's scary at times, and it's a little shaky at times, but like, if you just keep going and keep pushing towards that dream, that vision that you have. And that's what I communicated to my husband. Like, I know this is going to work. I have this vision. I have this dream. And then you have to have the people that believe in you too, right? So fortunately, he's amazing, and he believed in me and supported me and pushed me, and knew that this was something that was going to work. So yeah, so that's the biggest change. I mean, I was definitely in the day job grind of going to work every single day and not very happy. And so it's a change of actually doing work that I love and I'm happy with and I'm fulfilled by, and I like can't wait to get to work in the morning. That's how my life has changed.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's very, very exciting. Definitely inspiring. And I hope that that's the situation I'm in one day. I'm very jealous that you're going to New Zealand for a month. That sounds amazing.
I'm excited too.
You bet. Okay, so switching gears a little bit, how do you continue growing your network?
So as a business owner, the change that I've made, and this will apply too, because when you grow your business and you're a mom, for me, I made a huge change in networking when I became a mom. I used to do a ton of speaking. I used to go to networking events all the time. And then I became a mom, and I was like, I don't want to miss bedtime. And I don't want to, go places on weekends. And it just kind of totally changed my priorities. So, but we still need to network, right? We still need to meet people. We still need to you know, have people who push us and support us. And so I think for me, the biggest thing is really moving to like more of like an online network, um, being part of these Facebook groups that totally support me and push me. I'm in 2 mastermind groups right now with people all over the US. So I think those two are like rocks for me, right? Like is having, and then I'm part of another Facebook group with a course that I'm going through of other people who are in similar positions. And so, and obviously I have my own Facebook group. We have the Classic Frugal Network. I have 2 Facebook groups for the 2 membership sites I run. So the change that I really made is really focusing in on those Facebook groups to meet people and to, instead of local networking, which I've done a lot of since the start of my business and doing all the events here in San Diego. Now I feel like my network is like totally international and I know people all over the world. And I feel like I'm going to New Zealand. I bet I know someone in some of my Facebook groups that lives in New Zealand that I could meet. And so it's just opened up like a huge network for me. Obviously, we have LinkedIn. We have LinkedIn is a huge networking tool I use. I have a LinkedIn group as well. So to me, it's taking my learning and my networking in more of a virtual world and doing a lot of like calls like this and doing a lot of virtual networking. So if I, you know, if there was one time there was a mentor that was helping me and we were just catching up over the phone and we were like every 3 to 6 months we would check in and you know, see how I was doing, see if I needed any help. And I think that's just really important. It depends on your style of networking. It depends on your business. I knew for me that I wanted like to make a really big impact. So I knew I wanted clients all over the world. And also another thing too is if you do have trouble with the nights and then like the bedtime, there's a lot of like lunch networking events out there for women as well. I know a few here in San Diego. And then every now and then, like I'll meet up with some of my mastermind partners and we'll go out and I'll miss a bedtime. But for me, that's just like so important that I'm there. It completely changed everything for my business and how I structure my business and how I change like the times of my coaching calls and everything just started changing and revolving around being a mom now.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question? I don't know if it was a good one.
Yeah, it does. I mean, that definitely is a similar challenge for me. And I think we have such powerful tools available to us online, especially with social media. And, you know, when in my business, I coach people that are all across the country, haven't gone international yet, but my coach is actually in London. So, yeah, so, you know, it's really an interesting way of connecting with people that you might not normally be able to connect with, but because of technology, we're able to do that. So.
Yeah, and reaching out to people, you'd be surprised that so many people want to help you, and especially if you know, mention that you've been following them and you know what they do and their experience could really be valuable to you. It's really informational interviews, and it's the same thing as like pretending you're job searching, right? And I teach this in all of our job search courses, is doing those informational interviews to get the job you want. And I think sometimes as entrepreneurs, we forget about that because we think that's just for job searchers. But
Yeah.
for me, I mean, if there is someone who is doing that, who is the CEO of a company that is very similar to where I want to be, you better believe like I am following them on Facebook. I am like seeing where they're going. I'm making plans to meet them someday. You know, if there's someone that I know is kind of like that, it's kind of like an online mentor, right? And like getting to know them personally. And that way, when you do know them or when you do meet them, you know about them and you can start that conversation. One of my mentors I've been interacting with online since September. We haven't met in person, but when we do meet in person coming up here in June, like I know what to talk about, right? Like I know him, I feel like I know him because of this whole online world too. So I think there's an even easier way to like make a really good impression on people, not just out of the blue, right? Like when I meet
Yeah.
him, he knows who I am, right? So we've already kind of had a relationship online at mentor, and so it's just a lot easier to get to know someone. I know I know his kids, like I know what his values are. And so it's an easier way to like strike up that conversation. But I think people have to, you have to be okay with letting go of the local networking too. I know that's a tough one. But it's something that I've just been able to do. So I think part of it is I did a lot of the local networking. I did a lot of meeting people here locally. So it was time to like really make a larger impact and give myself a larger network.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I guess what would you say to someone who is intimidated about reaching out to one of their business, like a ideal business mentor for them?
I think the easiest way, really, first of all, is to make an impression, and as far as following them, maybe tweeting them. We hired an intern who had been doing that for us for a year, so we knew exactly who she was, and it wasn't like, who is this resume coming in? Like she had made a really good impression online. So I think doing that, putting yourself out there so that they know you from social media. Like I checked my tweets, I checked my Facebook messages. We're in these Facebook groups of thousands of people, but every time someone comments on my post, I see it. I'm very visible in my brand, and so are other people as well. So I think people do notice. They do notice your support. They notice you liking. They notice you commenting, and then it's a message. Whether it's a LinkedIn message or a Facebook message. It's actually on my to-do list is to Facebook message someone that I admire. So I'm in this similar position as well, and for me, not everyone responds, and you have to be okay with that because not everyone is the type of person you want in your network as well. So if someone doesn't respond, oh well, that's just not that. You kind of have to get over that and get over your fears. But what could happen, right? Like what could be possible if you got to know that person, become friends with that person, even learn from that person. I mean, sometimes you do have to join a course, or if you really want to get to know how someone teaches or what they do, you join their programs and you get the bird's eye. You learn everything that they have, right? You get inside their mind usually when you join their programs too. So it has to be someone you really admire. But I think a simple message, reaching out to them after they kind of know you a little bit online, and just complimenting them, saying that you really like their book or this video that they did, or just telling them what the impact was that they made on you. That's one of the things that I'm going to do, because this woman wrote a Facebook post and it impacted me, right? What she wrote impacted me, and I like related to her. And people love to be complimented, right? Like, but genuinely, not just like, great post. We all have that on Instagram, right? Thumbs up, great post. But like, why did that post, why did that impact you, and what did it do for you? I love hearing that. Like if someone went to a blog post I wrote and just talked about how that blog post impacted them, like that's why we write, that's why we do what we do. So complimenting it always works, right?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think a lot of times, we might see someone that we admire and want to reach out to, but we talk ourselves out of it because, like you said, maybe we haven't gotten a response in the past, or we, I don't know, are afraid of what will happen. But you're right. What could happen? What is the possibilities? And I love your perspective on, hey, maybe if they don't respond, it's just not somebody that I want in my network. I mean, it's just different. And I do also have to commend you, because I think I heard on one of your podcasts that you had made a decision at one point to be super visible within your brand, and you are. And I think that just, it makes everything that you do so authentic, and that's why you've been able to create the following that you have, I'm sure. So I really appreciate that about you.
Yeah, I've been in situations where the person isn't very visible too. So I think that watching other people too makes you really realize, okay, this is how I want to be and how it might be different, and I want to be approachable too. So I'm glad that comes across, but it is me.
It absolutely does. Yeah. So last but not least, and kind of related to that, actually, what are the core values that drive your business?
Mm. Well, the big one was fulfillment. So that's kind of like our big focus. Everything we do really comes back to career fulfillment for all women. I think it's so important to have that like that mission of the vision of really where you're going because it helps you make that decision. So fulfillment, and then also I think the freedom. It comes back to the freedom as well because I think for me, learning what really drives me, like for me, a big value is autonomy and being able to do what I want when I want it. And when I learned that, it changed everything for me because I realized me and the corporate world just really didn't fit very well. And someone else telling me what to do, me realizing like I think I could do this better, but not being able to given that chance to do it better. So that's a huge one. That's just like me personally. But I think also just really it goes back to that the definition of our brand, which is a classy career girl, right? So to me, and I'm going over this in my head right now because we're going through kind of a change of our brand possibly, and the term class. I feel like that's something that's really missing right now in the whole online world. There's like so much online noise, there's so much content being flown everywhere. And to me, I just come back to that word class. Like it's the beginning of our brand, Classy Career Girl. And I relate it as well to learning and being in class. And so you may see that have something coming of that in the future. There's your sneak peek. But I think that it's kind of like a belief of like you have to keep learning, but you have to have class as well, and you have to be professional. And even in the corporate world, I felt like Classy Career Girl just really embodied me wanting to be professional in how I was presenting myself at work, with learning and skills and etiquette and like everything I was doing with other people because I was not seeing that with some other people that I was working with, and I just really wanted to have that class. And then now as an entrepreneur, with the craziness of everything going on in social media and how many people are out there right now, it's all about like really putting those blinders on and really focusing on what you're here to do and who you're here to help, and then also having that class when you're doing it as well, and learning and growing as much as you can.
Great. Yeah. I think a lot of us can probably relate to that feeling of, I think I could actually do this better, but no one's letting me. I'm kind of stuck. So that definitely has been a driver for me as far as thinking about going on my own as well. So that's all the questions I have for you. I really appreciate your time.
Awesome. Well, tell everyone where they can learn more about you then, and what your big plans are coming up.
Yeah. So if you're looking for a life and leadership coach, I actually work with a lot of women, and usually a lot of women who are looking at a transition in their life, whether it be becoming a mom or becoming a stay-at-home mom or going back to work. So that's really my primary client base, and you can find me on meganmeyer.net or on Facebook. If you just search for Megan Meyer, my business page should come up for you.
Spell that so they know how to say Meyer.
Yeah, it's Megan, Megan, Meyer, Meyer.
Awesome. And I'd love to do a follow-up someday to kind of put you on the spot to interview you, maybe 6 months to a year down the road, and we can like check in with you and see how far you've come. I think that would be a lot of fun. So
That would be great. I'd love that.
okay, well, we're putting the pressure on you then.
Sounds good. You'll hold me accountable.
I will for sure. We wish you the best of luck, and let us know how we can help for sure.
Thank you.
Thanks to everyone for listening, and let us know what you think. We'd love to know what you thought of this new podcast format. Remember to leave a review on iTunes as well for a chance to ask me